Okay, what I'm going to share here is me trying to self-reflect on something, and I'll share what it was because like having a personal reflection on learning more about how to watch others, but also what's up with watching myself, you know? So instead of me saying, yes, I may be right about these behaviors, I see these actions, consistent actions of others. But then when it comes to my response or my actions towards these very people, am I turning into them? How am I paying attention to myself as I respond to them? Each case is different. Each situation is different. So I'm going to share here exactly what I typed into AI and what they came back with. So I said, how did I talk about this as far as in a way to bring about awareness? And I want to know if I was wrong when I say, when I responded to someone, I'm too smart for that. So I asked someone for help, and they were helping me with my website, trying to put products on my website and on one of my websites, and they know how to code and the website and how to use coding and to get the different products up and running, right? And they were going to teach me how to code and this and that and whatever. And we were talking a little bit about that. And someone was listening in and they said, well, you know, this is what you should do. You should do Amazon. You should know how to do this and that. And if you don't have a lot of followers, they're going to turn you down. Like if you have 1,000 products, and then also if you have 1,000, 5,000 products in your home, what are you going to do with that if nobody buys them? And so, and I said, number one, I would never do that. I'm way beyond that, and I'm too smart for that. And, I didn't retract my language after telling him that, but I felt wrong for saying I'm too smart for that, or I am way beyond that. That was not right of me. I didn't feel as though I didn't like that response from me, but I didn't retract it. That type of language after telling him that, because I really did feel that way. Like, come on now, who do you think, like, why are you talking to me like that, or not definitely not necessarily who do you think you're talking to, but I don't want to be a smart ass, but that's just the way I felt. Like, I don't know. So anyway, it came back with, this is what came back after I put those words in. It say, you were not wrong for having that feeling, but the specific words, I'm way beyond that, and I'm too smart for that, can easily land as condescending, even, excuse me, if your intentions was self-respect and awareness. What you were actually protecting, from how you described it, a few things were going on at once. You felt talked down to, like they were assuming you were naive enough to fill to fill your house with random Amazon products and hope for the best. You already have the knowledge, strategy, and a clear brand, so the 1,000 products in your home comment didn't fit who you are. Your quote unquote, I'm too smart for that / I'm way beyond that, unquote, came from a place of, I don't operate like that, and I need you to recognize that. So internally, Your statement was about your standards and your experience, not about insulting them. So that part is valid. Why it might sound arrogant to others, even when the feeling is justified, certain phrases are commonly heard as putting the other person below you. And trust me, I am not one to do that, in no position to do that, in no position to feel that. And I definitely don't want to do that. Communication trainers point out that phrases like, the truth of the matter is, or I'm too smart for that, trigger defensiveness because they imply the other person is wrong, naive, or foolish. People often hear, I'm too smart for that, as you're not smart, even if you didn't say it directly. When someone is advising you and you push back strongly, they may feel embarrassed or exposed in front of the group, which makes them focus on tone instead of your point. And I want to add to that is I kept talking and listening to his points and saying, that sounds good, that sounds good. And, was just taking in what they were saying after that. And we kept the conversation going. I really don't want them to feel that way. So your boundary was right. The phrasing just had the potential to sting. How a lot of times we don't know what we're doing or saying to other people. Just like I'm learning, other people are learning too, and I need to keep that in mind as well. How to say the same thing without shrinking yourself. You can keep the same energy, self-respect, discernment, and I don't move like that, and adjust the wording so it brings awareness instead of unnecessary tension. They give some alternatives that still honor your intelligence. That approach doesn't fit my business model. Another one is I'm focused on strategies that don't require me to hold that kind of inventory. I appreciate the suggestion, but I'm building this out in a more data-driven way. Another one that's not aligned with how I operate, I'm taking a more strategic approach to products in AI. Let me stop right there. And I was just thinking that when you're dealing with so many, especially in a large hospital workplace environment, so many different personalities, different backgrounds, different behaviors, different intents, wicked intents, good intentions, bad intentions. It's good for me to self-reflect on myself, even if it is difficult at times, because sometimes you can be focused on the negative and the negative people and the toxic people, and those wicked, like, you got to watch your back type people. And so when you get genuine people that's learning just like you're learning, and they're really actually nice people. So I just got to take a step back and be like, pay attention to yourself too, the way you come off to people, If you want to signal I'm not the one to play with without saying I'm too smart for that, you could say I'm very intentional about how I do business. I'm careful and calculated with my investments. I don't move impulsively like that. All of these still say that's not me, but they don't put the other person below you on the intelligence ladder. If you want to clean it up without backtracking, it's still on your mind, and you see this person again, you can honor both your boundary and their dignity. Hey, when I said I'm too smart for that, What I meant was I'm very intentional and I don't move like that in business. I wasn't trying to come off as a smartass. I value my intelligence and experience, and I'm just not aligned with that model. I could have said it clearer, but my point stands. And something keep nagging at me is to say when you have another person on the right-hand side or the left-hand side in front of you or behind you, that's a whole different type of personality with certain behaviors. It can intertwine in if you're not careful, which helps with striking out at others. I'm going to read on. That keeps your self-respect intact while also modeling the kind of awareness and communication you teach in your own content. So bottom line, your instinct and boundary were on point. You recognized advice that did not fit your values, strategy, or level of awareness. The feeling, I'm too smart for that, is not wrong. It's your internal standard. For impact and relationships, shifting the phrasing, not the standard, will help you protect yourself, protect your brand, and still educate others without giving them an easy excuse to label you as arrogant or a smartass. All right, I just had to share that. Thank you.
There are moments in life when a situation sticks with you, not because of what was done to you, but because of how you responded. I had one of those moments recently, and it pushed me into a deeper level of self-reflection. I want to share from that space today. Over time, you start to notice people's personalities and behaviors. You notice how some people are consistently annoying, dismissive, or condescending, not just once, but over and over. You notice comments that don't sit right in your spirit, words that sound harmless on the surface but carry an undercurrent of disrespect or minimization. When that happens repeatedly, it is not just a joke, and it is not just how they are. It is data. It is information about who they are, how they see you, and how they move. In those moments, there is always a fork in the road. One path is to simply react, to fire back, to match their energy, to prove, "You're not going to play with me." The other path is to pause and reflect. What did I feel? Why did that bother me? And how did I respond? Self-reflection does not mean you let people slide. It means you slow down long enough to understand what is really happening, inside of you and in front of you. When you don't self-reflect, a few things happen. You start to believe that everybody else is the problem and your delivery is always justified. You miss the difference between honoring your intelligence and sounding like you are placing yourself above everyone else. Without reflection, your pain and your pride start driving the car. You may be right about their behavior, but wrong about your response. And when that happens, your message gets lost inside your tone. But when you do self-reflect, everything shifts. You can look back and say, "My boundary was valid. My instinct was right. But my wording could have landed differently." You can admit, "I felt disrespected, and I needed to stand up for myself. But I also don't want to become what I am trying to protect myself from." Self-reflection gives you language that protects your dignity without stripping someone else's. It allows you to say, "That approach is not aligned with who I am," instead of, "I'm too smart for that," while still holding the same standard inside your spirit. There is power in noticing patterns in others. When someone is consistently minimizing you, talking at you, or assuming you are naive, you are not obligated to ignore that. You are not required to pretend you don't see what you see. But there is equal power in turning that same awareness inward. As carefully as you study their behavior, study your own. Ask yourself, what did this trigger in me? Did I respond from clarity or from ego? Did my words reflect who I say I am? This is not about shaming yourself for how you reacted. It is about growing from it. You are allowed to say, "At that moment I meant what I said," but now I understand I want to express it differently next time. Maturity is not pretending you never feel like saying, "I'm too smart for that." Maturity is deciding how you want to sound when you know you are. So, as you move forward, keep watching people's personalities and behaviors. Pay attention when someone you see present consistently irritates your spirit, or their words keep poking at your intelligence. That is something to look into. But remember, the real transformation happens when you also look into yourself. When you not only ask, "Why are they like that?" but also, "Who am I becoming in the way I respond?" Because at the end of the day, you cannot control who they are. But through honest self-reflection, you can refine who you are, and that is where your true power lives.